what we do is there is no I can't go out. We can't go out to the market and just hire anybody. This what we do is so specific to people that are getting ideas to market that there's no playbook, right? We've been writing the playbook for the last 7 years and introducing it to people. They either look at us like, wow, that is just crazy amount of work that you guys do for your clients, and then we have some people like yourself that see it and go, wow, this is inspiring because I can lead people through this. And I keep saying this, we've really changed our business model from, although we provide a service, we're really mentors and leaders in our industry.
We help people with ideas get them to revenue.
All right, welcome to podcast number 31, and welcome everyone. I just want to say that I read a statistic the other day that, we're in the 1 percentile. They say once you get past 30 podcasts that we're in a very elite league of podcasts that get produced on a regular basis. So
wow.
In 12 months that we've been kind of committed to making podcasts, we've just reached 31. So congratulations to us.
We must be in the 1 percentile for also staying in business for 7 years.
Yeah,
most businesses don't make it to 2, right?
That's a very good point. That's a very good point. So and I'm going to say, if there's any one word that I can use to it's tenacity, right? These are not always easy to get set up, and I appreciate the crew here. I'm going to point to all 3 cameras because we've just, from where we started with our little Zoom Google Meet lens.
Oh, I thought it was an iPhone.
Yeah, maybe we did. Wherever we started, to the fact that we have a 3-camera setup, we have a podcast room, and it's pretty amazing. So today's podcast, we want to introduce, obviously I'm Peter, you've already met Dan, and we're going to introduce John. John, why don't you, your last name?
Well, it is a mouthful, but Peter, I'm John Baranowski. I'm a new project manager here at 52 Launch, and I got to say, I don't know if we're going to be able to squeeze this all in within 45-minute time period, but I am really excited to kind of talk about a lot of what I've seen in my first couple of months here, just dealing with clients and really kind of managing the project on the back end. But it seems like what's kind of led me here is I've been training for this role my whole life, and I didn't even really know it. But I'm really excited to be here, really happy to be here, and I'm really looking forward to speaking and sitting down with both of you today.
Well, John, tell us a little bit about your background, because as someone that saw something in you when I first met you, which was, I guess, just this past summer, maybe it was the springtime when we were playing basketball outside. Yeah. John is extremely competitive. He's a guy that it pays attention to detail like nobody else that I've met, which, he's right. This is a great spot for him to start at this company. We have certainly bigger goals for John as he starts to, learn more about what we do here. But tell him a little bit about your background, because I thought it was pretty impressive. I always like to brag about you.
So I always start off by saying that I've been an athlete my whole life. I know once you get to college, they make sure to let everyone know, don't just say you're an athlete, you're a student athlete. You're a student athlete. So, I always kind of was focused on the athletic side of just kind of life. And I think as I matriculated through college at James Madison University, I kind of saw how focusing on athletics really does make you kind of a more focused person, a more motivated person. You get more excited to learn new things in your sport, and then once you graduate from that and you kind of get introduced into kind of the workforce, the real side of life, you start to see, oh, wait a second, that all those athletics, that kind of was prepping me for this. So just to get to the specifics, I was a scholarship athlete at UConn. I then transferred to James Madison. I graduated there as a 2-year All-American. I did have a tryout with the Bills. For whatever reason, I was thinking, this isn't for me. I kind of stepped away from the game. Kind of the fire for it just wasn't there. So I kind of was, excited to explore new opportunities. So I did jump into the data tech world. I was a data analyst for a few years, and after some time away, I actually explored the musical side of life. I was kind of I was actually a a lead singer and a founder of.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, our interviewing sucks.
I'm sneaking these in here, but I did spend some time as kind of a single solo folk artist. I kind of did some gigs. I traveled out to Cali, saw what the scene was. So I've kind of been everywhere, and I think having that athletic background, having a little bit of musical background, you kind of see how really there's a little bit of that in everything. So being a project manager, now it's like, well, sometimes you have to think creatively, like an artist would think. Sometimes you have to get real motivated, like an athlete would think. And sometimes you just have to be in the books and you have to be with the details. And I think that's.
Or sometimes you just got to play your position and do your job, right? Like there's block and tackle, and that just has to happen day in, day out, right?
Yep.
So there's no getting away from grunt work. But yeah, I love the fact that we just learned about you.
I kept that a secret for 2 months, but it's finally out.
Well, it won't be a secret anymore because our holiday party is next Friday.
It's coming
and
up.
we're having karaoke. So,
John,
John, you're going to be leading the way there.
I'm already thinking that I probably.
And it's not the national anthem because I know you're used to singing that on the sidelines, mumbling it under your breath while the
now
professionals sing
I'm
it.
thinking in the back of my head now. I already got. I got to get a set list ready.
Yeah. Well, I've got folk singer written down here, so that's.
Yeah, we're going to have to convert you over to some rap because that's pretty much what everybody listens to in this office because everybody here is under 18.
Oh yeah, I think we just invented a new genre. There's folk rap. We just invented it.
Awesome.
All right, good.
But like I said, that's all led me here, and I think Dan put it best in that, I kind of had this athletic background, scholarship athlete with all those accolades and kind of being right at the doorstep of the NFL and kind of having that drive to really focus on a goal and really trying to be successful. That's kind of led me to where I am as a great project manager in that you have to plan it out from beginning to the end. You have to have a goal. You have to have milestones, just like in football where you have the 40-yard dash. You have to prep for it. We're prepping for specific designs, shipping them out to suppliers and trying to get the best quotes. And all that kind of is intermingled in the fact that if you don't have it on a piece of paper as something that needs to get done, like I said, it doesn't get done.
Yeah, and that's look at Dan met you first, and then kind of introduced the idea to me, and he said, "Hey, do you mind? I'm going to bring John in. I'm going to interview." And you weren't here, so we had some one-on-one time, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm all in." And it really comes down to look at what we do is there is no we can't go out to the market and just hire anybody. What we do is so specific to people that are getting ideas to market that there's no playbook, right? We've been writing the playbook for the last 7 years and introducing it to people. They either look at us like, wow, that is just crazy amount of work that you guys do for your clients. And then we have some people like yourself that see it and go, wow, this is inspiring because I can lead people through this. And I keep saying this, we've really changed our business model from, although we provide a service, we're really mentors and leaders in our industry. And not just to the industry, everybody that hires us or that we take on as a client, it's our job. I'm here to lead you as best I can, and that's where having John, really fit our culture quickly. I'd rather have you have the culture built in than train that so that we can teach you what we need to know. So
apparently, we found a new revenue stream today.
Folk singing?
Not folk singer, but I just traveled back from Connecticut today, and I was on the phone for 1.5 hours, basically almost the entire trip back, with a client of ours, and so apparently we've become therapists as well.
Yes,
because
without a doubt,
we when you say mentors, slash therapists, because starting your own business is not easy, and you've got to have the tenacity, and you're going to have bad days like everybody has.
Well, and I think that is a great place to start, right? Because we have a couple of examples this week and I think it's always like a new client that comes on board with us, right? I love inventors and entrepreneurs because we're so visionary. The challenge is that your vision doesn't always meet the pavement, right? And I'll self-admit, and we say this to everybody that before they hire us, is that sometimes it's going to take us a few weeks to catch up to you, right? To get to your vision. We're bringing knowledge and experience to the table. You're bringing the vision and direction and what you've seen. And, I think what we have to figure out, and it's not everybody, but, on occasion when that emotion comes out the first time, like you guys don't get me, it's almost like, having to deal with like there's just so much emotion. And we have to get past that, and I think we don't want to be therapists, but we it's a good thing. And I learned something, or there was a phrase the other day that says, arguments people have is because someone wants to win. Disagreements is what people have to create solutions. And I'm okay with disagreements, right? Like if you don't see that we have your vision, you're probably right. But you also might not see our vision of what we see for you. And let's have that disagreement to get to a solution so that we can get on the right page. And I think that's really the most important part of your job. And I'm saying this to all of the clients that are going to potentially hire us, and use it as a clip so that we can share it. It's okay. That's part of the process. Like we if we got along and everything was easy to figure out, and you wouldn't need us, right? You would just do it on your own. That's 100%. The whole point.
You would need us, or everybody in the world would quit their job and come up with an idea.
Exactly.
So, right. It's not for everybody.
And we're not, look at anytime our clients, and let's I don't want to name names, but obviously this week we've had.
I think we're both thinking of the same.
Yeah,
one.
No, exactly,
because it came up earlier today.
Right. So everybody had a great first call with this client. Yep. The second call, the client was not as enthusiastic, and then you got an email that was just very emotional, and and like we were. And look, I'm self-admitting as a company owner, and so is Dan. Like this sounds like a very unhappy client right now, but that's not the case. We're just at that early stage where we've had 2 conversations. We are putting together some ideas. I am never going to argue with a client, and I wouldn't want you to argue with a client or Dan to argue with a client unless we know better. If there's going to be a reason why we think this is the way it needs to get done, it's not because we're just arbitrarily coming up with it. We've failed at that, right? Like I know where your failure is going to be, and this is where, again, with you leading the charge and helping us with all of our clients, I just want to overcome that quicker and easier, that we get to understanding quicker. We're going to have those moments, and let's get over them, right? So,
well, the big thing is when the the frustration comes through. Usually, what happens is the client, for all intents and purposes, they think they know it all, and like you said, we've seen so much that we kind of know that an idea scribbled on a napkin, that's great, but when you actually get into the meat and potatoes of, do we have an actual Gerber file for the electronics? Do we actually have the materials that are going to be used for something that you've drawn out on a napkin? Do you have the specs? Do you have the measurements? And once you kind of ask those follow-up questions, it kind of it at least lets the client know, oh, wait a second, maybe I don't know as much as I thought I knew. Yeah, and it is great to have proactive clients out there, but it is it's our responsibility to kind of really ask those follow-up questions to kind of see, how in-depth their knowledge really is. And then, once we get to that point, we can actually move on from there. But sometimes their frustration just comes from them knowing that they don't know everything, and they just need somebody to tell them.
Right? Yeah.
And again, I mean, we can't get any more transparent than that. We're actually talking about an unhappy client today that will not be unhappy tomorrow. But
they're already happy.
The thing is that we want to be as transparent. That's why we do these podcasts. It's this is a journey. It's not for everybody. You do have to have the tenacity. You do have to have some thick skin. I'm going to say this because it's part of my life. Not every day being married is a perfect day, right? So you have to understand that there are ups and downs with anything that you possibly do in life. So raising a child, buying cryptocurrency when it's at its height, So the idea is that you just have to understand that we have your back on everything. I would say, to add to what you had said earlier, Pete, we don't want to have disagreements and arguments. But remember, if we don't say anything and there's a failure, we are going to be targeted for the blame. So we'd rather be proactive because of our experience and explain to you why we think there needs to be a pivot, or why we think this, you might want to look at this option versus this option. So that's the reason we do it, is we have your back throughout the entire process, because ultimately we have to succeed with every client.
And I know it drives you crazy when I say we're not an agency, and I don't mean it in the way we do better work than agencies do.
Of course we do.
The reason why we're not an agency.
We do more work.
Exactly. The reason why we're not an agency is because we're going to say no about things we are adamantly have learned the hard way, right? An agency is going to give you what you ask them to give you.
Exactly.
And
why do they do that? Because they can't be blamed. They can't be blamed for anything that you told them to do.
That's a simple
We're
equation.
just different. We don't want to. We're okay. If we're wrong and you're right, that's fantastic, right? Because ultimately we want to get to, to market. But my feeling is that you don't pay us our fee if you're not going to listen to us, because again, we've pretty much seen every mistake that you can possibly make.
Well, I always had the saying that if we do it my way, let's do it my way because I know it works, and if it works, then great. If we do it your way, I have no problem as long as it works. And I don't care how you do it as long as it gets the results that we need. Right? Now, if we do it your way and we don't get the results I know I can get, that's a problem. Right? And that's where we're, we only have a short amount of time to get this product to market. We're all trying to get past that, let's get there cost effectively. Let's get there to that point. And look, we're here as mentors. We're also here to give you the things that, you don't know what you don't know. And again, we did this without project managers, which was way harder.
Right.
Now that we've got you and Megan as well as Pollyanna, we have the right project managers on every case so that we can get to that point where we can really do what you're here to do, and that's guide step by step and making sure that each task gets done, it gets checked off, and we move on to the next one. It feels like a slow process, but it is 3 years faster than anybody else that's out in the market that's attempted to do what we do.
Oh, easily.
Right,
easily.
and so where are you starting with step one? Let's just talk about when Dan and I finish talking with a client and they decide to hire us, you get introduced. What's the process so far? Walk people through that so they get an understanding of what to expect when they first meet you guys.
Sure. So we actually just had a kickoff call yesterday with another new client, and usually what we do is in these kickoff calls we just want to introduce the team. We want to get an idea for what the client is introducing to the market. Kind of how they came up with the idea. What was kind of the aha moment. What kind of drove it to be this kind of realization where they knew it could be a product. How far along it is. Do they have kind of any prototypes? Do they have anything in development? Are they already selling the product? These questions we really want to flesh out early in that kickoff call to kind of understand where they're starting from, and then from there. We get right to work. We got to nail down a brand name. We got to get you a domain. We got to make sure that you're out there, you're seen. If you already have a logo, great. If not, we're able to develop a logo for you. We get that branding. We send you a branding packet. And all of this is kind of something that we want to make sure that if there is any progress, we understand how far along it is in that kickoff meeting. And then right after that kickoff meeting, we actually have a follow-up meeting, which is kind of a kickoff / first design meeting, and that's kind of going over the real details of any of the kind of schematics that actually are there for the product.
Is that done with the client still, or is that internally the group, the team?
Yes, both are with the client. Yeah. So that first.
I think the team's towing right now. We used to do it all in one call, but I think we're separating. The initial call is more about the graphic side, and then we have the production call so that it's split up. So you're not meeting all the team at one time anymore. We're splitting it up, and I think they found a much better process in focusing. Like Jess doesn't need to be on the design product side, but she needs to be really focused on.
So what you're saying, Pete, is that we actually listen to our team to come up with more efficient ways of doing things rather than us telling them what they should do.
We had a managers meeting today.
Which is really...
It's a novel concept.
Yeah, it is. But that kind of trickles down to everything that we do. I mean, I remember when you and I first wrote our proposal, it looks totally different today than it did back then because our team wrote it, because our team was frustrated with some of the things that we would say that weren't quite accurate, not because we were trying to slide something over anybody's head. It's just that our team does the work. We are essentially the spokespeople of 52 Launch, and we all have our vision. Everybody on the team has the same vision. It's just that our way of doing it was not as effective as the team's way.
Lee Iacocca used to say, "Lead, follow, or get out of the way." Yeah. And there's times that to me this is more important, these podcasts, because I think we're leading ourselves into a place where we're open, we're transparent, we're hopefully this is information that anybody watching our podcast, you're either going to look at it and go, wow, I can use this. Oh, you know what? Maybe I need to talk to these guys because I need help, or maybe someone that's looking to get a product idea to market.
We don't look at it as a sales tool. We look at it as an education tool. We want people, as many people to learn what we do, and if they can do it themselves, great. If they can't and they get stuck somewhere, we're here to help.
Well, I'd like to say we follow our staff, but I think we've really gotten out of their way.
Right.
And I think that's a huge plus where the work that needs to get done is the work that needs to get done.
Right.
Getting out of their way on how it gets done, if it's more efficient and better and faster, that's all we're looking for.
Right.
So, that's good. So we don't want to be therapists, but we understand this is an emotional ride, and just you look at the end of the day, if you were doing this on your own, you'd melt down. Thank God you have us, right? Because
your therapist become your spouse, or your significant other, and you'd probably get divorced.
Yeah,
So-
and I don't mean to say that in a
Or
blasphemous way,
separated.
but in terms of I think that's exactly what we're here for. It is for us to kind of walk you off the ledge, and understand that none of us needs to be on the ledge. Let's keep this rational. At the end of the day, we have one goal, and that's to get the best product that we can to market. That's got the right margins, and that can be on the shelf as quickly as we can.
Right.
Honestly, Bill Withers said it best, right? You just got to lean on me. Right?
Yeah.
And I think
Perfect.
that's essentially what happened with this client that we were talking about. They had all their T's crossed, all their I's dotted. They kind of had, it's almost as if they had done so much work before they came to us that they felt that it was done. And then when they realized, oh my gosh, there was just so much more work to do, it's almost like
Yeah.
they needed to just kind of lash out at someone, at something. Just
I can't wait to
realize-
find out who it is after we get off air, because I don't know who it is at this point.
Well, here's
We're never telling you.
Here's the funny thing, though. I get the long email, voicing all the frustration, and I just let it sit for a couple of days because really, this client just needed to be alone with their thoughts and they just needed somebody to kind of let the steam off on. So then, sure enough, the client has already responded back saying, oh, I'm still looking forward to working with you. I think this is going to be a great project. I really look forward to kind of working this out. Let's try and get a meeting set up. So it's almost like they already talked themselves off the ledge, but they just needed somebody to kind of vent all this frustration out just to see how much is going to be needed for the product to come to market.
Well, keep in mind too. I think Peter, you've done the research on this. Unfortunately, most of the clients that are hiring us are already coming to us because they've spent, 5 digits on another firm, or
Yeah.
they've spent way too much on
Usually
a prototype.
two firms. The survey that I did indicates that like 80% of the clients that have hired us have been somewhere before us
And spent
that
significant
doesn't-
money.
That doesn't have an A through Z process, right?
Right.
That leaves them pretty much at I have a
What's next? What do I do now? Right?
and again, they're not patent companies. They're other invention hub companies that get you provisional patent and give
Yeah.
you some sort of marketing.
So we
outlook.
understand the frustration, because I'd be frustrated if I spent that kind of money and then had to, come to us and we say, I know you think that you've got it figured out, but whenever we hear that, really, we actually don't even want to work with those clients, because they tend to be so adamant that they hired the right engineer or design firm. They there's a reason they spent $10,000 on a prototype, which is ridiculous, and they just felt like they had to be right because they would look like they would look bad upon themselves for not understanding what they just paid for they didn't get.
And I'm going to jump on your podcast. I mean your prototype comment there, because that's what most people think the next step is. So here's an educational moment from me directly to you guys. Getting a prototype is not going out and getting something that looks like it's realistic. The big difference that we do that other people don't is I'm going to build and we're going to build your prototype at a manufacturer. So it's not a prototype. It is a prototype, but it's more of a production sample. We're skipping out that phase because if it's going to cost you 10 grand for a prototype, I'd rather put that money towards a production order and actually get a sample made from a manufacturer that can get us real costs and help us make your product quickly. That is the biggest difference that we do, and we call that DFM. It's designed for manufacturing. So that is it. If you have a prototype, you're not even close to the starting line of selling your product. You are actually, you still have to go through the DFM process. So
We
I would
apologize
not-
to all the prototype companies that we work with that send us leads, because that wasn't something that we should brag about. But Peter, you're right. Prototypes, spending that kind of money on a prototype is just absolutely ridiculous,
better
and you do
served
not
somewhere
need to
else.
do it. You do not need to do that.
All right, let's get back to the
Yep,
podcast.
sorry.
We'll edit that out later. Yeah. Well, interestingly enough, that you bring up, the sample process and whether it, comes directly from the DFM or from the tool. Sometimes what has happened, I've seen just in my short time here, is you get a sample and it's just it's made as kind of a one-off. Like it's not made with an actual streamlined process. And then once you actually get the sample approved and you say, all right, I want the first sample from the first mass production order, what you'll notice is, there are some tweaks that kind of need to be looked at, need to be approved, need to be reviewed. And sometimes that's another part of the process that just sometimes clients don't consider. They just think, oh, sample approved, I'm good to go. Like there's almost like a disconnect in that every step of the way we're making sure that we're reviewing it, we're having you approve it, we're looking at it with our designers, making sure that it meets all the specifications. Because if it doesn't, the last thing that you want is 10,000 units of something that doesn't function correctly.
Right.
And that's I think that's just
Well, so and I love the skill, and I'm going to ask you: is perfection the goal?
never.
Okay, that is really important because perfection kills.
Profitability.
It really does.
It really does, and it kills profitability because it's first of all, it's an unattainable goal, and secondly, it just takes forever, right? The longer you go down the process of getting perfection. That's also why we don't allow anybody, like we've never had anybody order, maybe our highest order on initial order has been 15,000 units of something small, because you're going to iterate, right? And 15,000, 10 to 15,000 or 2,500 to 15,000 units is the perfect amount for your first sales trial.
Sure.
Right? Just like a clinical trial, right? You're going to a sales trial. You're going to get a little beat up, and that's okay, because guess what you can do on your next round? You can make all the improvements, all the adjustments, and guess what? You're making those adjustments based on the opinion of 15,000 people that bought it, or 2,500 people that bought it, or 500 people that bought it.
And what did they do? They bought it.
They bought it.
So they bought the product. You put revenue and hopefully profits in your pocket. Now it's time to listen to the real people who are important, and that's the consumer who's actually buying your product. Let them help you iterate the next design.
And I love the scale that then again, I recommend everybody use this. Rate your sample a 1 through 10, and you can't use the number 7. Okay? Like where does your sample fall on a 1 through 10 scale, but you can't use the number, like eliminate the number 7.
And nobody wants to say 6, and nobody wants to say 8.
Okay.
That's always what happens.
And that's exactly when you're in perfect territory, right? If you're a 6, you're above average. If you can get to an 8, then you're already there. Don't
try to get to a 10, because then there's an 11, and then there's only if we did that. So that's the challenge. And again, we're sharing this because we've done over 320 products now. We've seen it all. An 8 or 7, good number to have. I mean, everybody thinks your product's a 10, by the way, until they use it and they make recommendations as to if it could do this, it would be perfect. That's
great.
great.
It seems so simple, but sometimes clients need to hear that. Listen, we're going to get some revenue under our belt, and then we can use that revenue to go back and retool, to go back and make those adjustments that Peter was just talking about. So sometimes they want to come out the gate, they want to just check all the boxes, and they just want to have it sit and be done with it. And really, if you're going to be a business owner, which is really what you're trying to be when you come to us, we'll help you along the way, but you're still owning your own business. This is still your baby that you're going to have to raise and manage. So I think expectations are really a big thing, where a lot of clients come in and they say, just get it done in the first run, and then that's it. And really, again,
those are our most successful clients.
Going back to athletics, you're always improving. If you're not getting worse, if you're not getting better, you're getting worse.
And that's I'm going to tell you that's why Dan and I liked John, because again, we're both athletes, but we're also driven, right? And I think there is a correlation between athletes and business.
Sure.
Because how much of your business success is your preparation to succeed, right? And I'm going to say that athletic that athletic training also translates into sales training. When you go into a sales environment, or if you're going to go into a trade show, you don't go there without understanding what your objections are going to be. You're not going to go there without understanding who your customer isn't, because you're going to waste so much time with someone who is never going to buy from you.
Amen. And
you have to move on from them. You have to be ready for the person that walks in, and you have to know and recognize that is my potential customer. And here's the first objection. I know the second objection. I know the fourth objection. I know the seventh objection that's going to come up. And I'm going to be prepared to handle all of them before they even – I know them before they do, right? That is preparation.
Yep.
And that's where, again, negative feedback is objections. And it's two objections. Some are false from people that are never going to buy. You ignore those people. Those are the naysayers, the people that will always just like – and the reason why we're sharing this is because your product development really is about understanding that you're going to get the naysayers. Let's get the product to the yay-sayers, right? Let's get that first product launch, which is a small percentage of the market. But once you find them and they're your product heroes, they will help you promote. That's when you have revenue to make version 2 or a secondary product or something else. And that's really that's the focus. So like let's stop trying to be perfect. Let's get something out there quickly and start selling.
And plus, you build up a great rapport with those suppliers once they know. Oh, okay, they've placed a 10,000 unit order. They've kind of they've shown that they have some skin in the game. So we're more willing to make those changes quicker, faster, and more efficiently. Whereas if you just kind of
fantastic point, John.
You dip your toe in. It's like, oh, maybe
the best way to have a relationship with the manufacturers that we utilize is to get a second and third order to them as quickly. It's your obligation to. In fact, I'll say that straight out. It is your obligation to get a second and third order to the manufacturer as quickly as you can. That means sell through your product as quickly as you can. Do what you need to do, because that's when it just starts happening, right? The relationship improves, the dynamics of that relationship improves, the investment that everybody's willing to make improves, the investors that will come out and see the results all improve, everything improves. So that should be your number one goal. Is forget about. Of course, you need to sell, but I need to get to that. I need to get the second, third production order.
Good. Have we had a podcast since our new cycloramic wall was put up?
No. Well, we've had while it was under construction, right?
Yeah.
So people have seen the the A-frame boards behind us.
It looks great. It really does.
Yeah, we'll get some B-roll footage of the cycloramic wall. So what that is, it's a very nice photo video studio now that we have with incredible lighting. That was very expensive.
Yeah. The three of us can be put into it and actually look really better than we do.
Yeah.
Live.
Just by standing in there, we get more George Clooney looking-ish.
Well, as I've said before, we have the technology that we can actually superimpose hair on my head.
Yeah.
And it is
you're
something
gonna
that I
have
have
full
considered. I've considered it.
Yeah. All right. So on the next round, so you've done the production meetings. Talk to us about the staff. I mean, you're interacting with the production team as well as the design and graphic team. Gauge our level of talent out on this floor.
I got to be honest. I did not know that you could have so few people, but so many bases covered. It's almost like we have a small team here, but because of that, it allows you to kind of be more agile.
I don't know what you consider small. I know what our payroll is, and that is not small.
Well, no, that's the thing. It's small.
I think it's up to 45 people that. You don't see all the people that work for us outside the office that don't come in.
No, that's a good
a
point.
lot of people on payroll, unfortunately.
No,
but we need them.
Yeah.
So.
well, that's a good point. I guess what I'm trying to get around to saying is, we have some of the top design minds that I think I've ever seen. I go into the meetings and I have the gist. I kind of have, the basic outline to kind of understand what the client's concerns are, and kind of, bringing those concerns and questions over to the design team. But then when the design team comes back with answers, I am just blown away at how thorough they are. It's almost as like every time we sign up a new client, I can honestly say that our designers, they really take it as kind of a challenge to make sure that they are really seeing the project from every angle. I almost feel like clients sometimes come at us and kind of try and stump us, and I'm just in the back of my head smiling, just knowing that our designers have it all covered. But as far as the overall talent, I have been blown away. I know that, again, here we are in a podcast live, and I'm saying small team. But there is nothing small about the talent. It has really been impressive.
I'm just gonna let you know we're really not live. I mean, it seems like we are, but this will get uploaded and people will be able to watch it. But you can make a mistake.
Yeah, we'll do funny lip syncs later.
We'll edit that out.
The team is huge.
So now, would you feel more comfortable singing for us now that we're not live?
Every rose has its thorn.
Well, he's got a deep voice.
Well, no, that's the comic sing. That's what I'm saying comically. But if we are staying on task here, the design team is extremely talented, and I haven't even touched base with the marketing team. What we do with logos and branding. It's amazing that a client can come to us and have, I just have a few colors that I like, and I like this font that I saw online, and then we send it over to the team, and they come up with the first round of logos, and we spit out 6 different versions for them to pick and choose from, and 9 out of 10 times, the clients usually pick one in the first round just because they're so blown away.
That's awesome.
And again, if they have any feedback, we go back. We do 2 or 3 rounds, depending on how many iterations they want to see. But it's just amazing that all of that is under one roof. And going back to what we discussed
when it's
earlier,
focused.
Yeah, it's almost like we have 5, 6, 7 different agencies all under one roof, and sometimes clients need to be reminded of that.
I think our biggest challenge was maybe a couple of years ago. I don't know if it's still a thing, but Dan and I say most of the people that are hiring us look like us. They're in our age bracket, right? And then the first meeting they see a complete 2 generations younger of the talent, and that was, I think, a bit of not a concern. I understand, they're like, well, what do these kids know? What do these kids know? And they're not kids, but you know what I'm talking about.
Honestly, I don't think I've ever seen somebody wear a hoodie and a knit cap to a design meeting, but then they're talking about the specific schematics behind a Gerber file for the electronic sensors that you find behind a weighted scale, and it's like, well, these guys know their stuff.
So Jesus, they're rubbing off on you.
Well, he's my Lord and Savior. He is. Oh goodness! But it is interesting that I think it can be a little bit interesting when you first see kind of how there is so much youth here, but in that youth there is a lot of vitality. There's a lot of eagerness to prove yourself.
Right.
And sometimes when we have some of the clients that maybe are in the 40, 50, 60 age bracket, they see somebody coming to the first design meeting, they're 20 years old. It does kind of make our design team eager to prove themselves and show, no, I know my stuff. I wanted to say another word there, but I know my stuff, and I am going to prove it. And I think having that desire to prove yourself every day, whether it be the design team, the marketing team, that's something that really kind of goes back to culture, what you talked about. Everybody here really wants to show their worth, prove their worth, and really just show that they have the chops. And anytime you're around a team like that, it makes me raise my game every time.
Yeah, well, that's good to hear.
We don't have any 20-year-olds that are full-time. They're part-timers generally.
So I've been
I think
it is in the mid-20s.
Once you're over 40, everybody's a 20-year-old.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And so, no, I agree. But I definitely think that, our average age as a company is probably 36 because we're the old goats, and then everybody else is in their under 30.
Well, you should see these two on the court. They still move pretty well. I got to say.
Well, we hire young people so we can feel like we're young.
Well, I'm going to say we hire the right young people that are motivated and talented and well trained, right? And I'll give a big kudos out to Wentworth, WIT, and UMass, and a few of the universities that we get incredible talent for co-op, right, and for internships. So. We get to vet them, and the ones that understand there's opportunity here usually come back to us for a job, and the ones that are talented get the job, right? And I think we've developed a really good process where we've always got the next man. We've learned from Bill Belichick, and Bill we trust. The next person up comes up, and we've got a pipeline of them.
I trust Tom, by the way.
Yeah, no, I agree. Tom's the reason why Bill was successful. There's no question.
We're picking sides here. We're picking sides.
But all right, good. So yeah.
So then after you've got all the logo creation, and then it's time for there is a pause, and that pause sometimes does cause a challenge for some of our clients who are not now hearing on a regular basis from us, because now we've sent over all of the design work to the factory for them to go through that DFM, the design for manufacturing stage, which is very critical, and I think that's what separates us from anybody else out there. And it does take time. That sampling process takes some time. The going back and forth with information as to what we might need to change to make it more cost effective, that takes time. And that's a time when we're still working for you. There's still a lot of things going on behind the scenes. We're still doing market research. And as soon as we get that first production or pre-production sample done, that's when the guys that are running this podcast right now, they get to work on some incredible content.
I can put John on the spot. Is there ever a week in the 2 or 3 production meetings that you guys hold, or marketing meetings, that every client isn't discussed on a weekly basis?
Oh, absolutely not. Every Monday, there's a production meeting to go over all of the orders that are in production, all of the orders that are coming up, and all of the kickoff meetings that we've just had. So essentially,
everybody gets touched every week.
Every week, there is a review of every single client.
And the number of that is 40 to 60? Like, what is the?
I mean, we're talking, we're approaching 60 to 80. I mean,
Yeah.
And we just added 2 more this week. So
Clients at a time.
Yeah.
That we're working with. So
Yeah,
these
this
guys
doesn't-
do an amazing job
Right.
juggling that. And
Well, and I say that specifically because, again, just a clip that we're going to need. I think, sometimes when everybody's sitting at home and they're busy at work and then they surface for air and like, oh my God, you've forgotten about me. Believe me, this only works if we get you to market, right? 52 Launch doesn't exist because we want to be a launch agency. We're a launch company and we want to become,
we're a manufacturer.
Exactly. Yeah. We're manufacturers at the end of the day. So the necessary parts that need to get done, we have to get to a production order. If we don't get their production order, and like I said earlier, we really need to get the second and third production order because that's when you become a business.
Right.
And that's when things get good, right? And everything else up until that point is really just about keeping it cost effective.
Right.
And that's...
And there's nothing that we have not done ourselves for that we're then teaching our clients the same thing that we've learned ourselves. You're right, Peter. Think about it. We don't really, as a company, we don't make any money until we get to that maybe third production order.
Right.
So we're talking about, having the stick-to-itiveness to hang in there for years. I mean, it could be a couple, 3 years before we get to that
and more than that,
order.
we have belief in your product.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have allowed you
Honestly,
to hire
if
us.
it doesn't
believe
meet
it or
our
not.
criteria, like why would I waste the time to do that, right? Like
Right.
we don't need clients. We need products that are going to sell over the next 3 to 4 years and then grow into their potential to sell for the next 10 years.
Right.
That's it. Like that's really what we're looking for. We want to be a portfolio of companies that are good ideas, that next as seen on TV type of moniker where your idea is unique, validated, it's got a market, it's got that wow factor.
And we've got the platform built for you to come up with your second and third idea as well.
Right,
Because
to complement that.
most people that are successful are going to have more ideas that they can bring to the table. So that is exactly, talk about, again, we have to look 5 years down the road to ensure our success as well. We've got to bring on some talented entrepreneurs, inventors that are going to go through that journey. And again, up and down, it's going to be a challenge, and we're going to be here to support that. But ultimately, we do have to get production orders.
Well, and I say this, and I'm bringing it up in the podcast, and Brennan and Alex, you guys can make this a clip. I say that because really, what we're focused on, I guess, what I'm asking for is the team needs your trust, right? Like if you're a client of ours, trust that we're visionary. I'm looking ahead, and I know when you write a check to hire us, and we're in the weed of things. Like it's so easy to get focused at that moment to get the product. Really open up your mind and expand and say, look, we've got to get to this 5-year plan or 3-year plan or 2-year plan. The first step is getting on the launch pad. The second step is, now you've got product. The second step is you got to get really good at selling your own product, learning the objections, learning the people that are going to kick you in the teeth with stupid comments online. That's okay, because in those you're going to learn the people that love you as well, and those are the ones you want to focus on. When they start selling, now you know how to advertise to find more of those. When you get good at advertising to those people, you have a successful business. And every one of our clients has that potential. And I'm just saying, now that we've been through it, when we're doing this 7 years, I can confidently say that to everybody now. Put the trust in the team so we can get more people on the launch pad and we can get you there specifically faster.
And it's interesting that you brought that up, because even though we do have this separate marketing package that we offer outside of the accelerator, within the accelerator, it's amazing that even within that process and that product that we sell, we do help create 15 organic posts.
It's totally designed to be a do-it-yourself. If you take our accelerator program and go look up don't half-ass anything, right? That like there's people that take things, and like we've got Lobster Nativity down at the seaport this week, and selling a ton loads of these of
75 units a day.
Wow.
At $75.
Right.
Do the math.
And by all means, on Amazon,
significant revenue.
It wasn't. That's one of the ones that can do well online, but we have to find our audience first. We have to collect emails. There's so much work. So, putting the effort into something like that, where you're selling 75 a day and you're making good margin, that's like, why wouldn't more people be doing that?
Exactly.
Right? And I understand people don't have time, but you do have weekends, and if you want to see things succeed, it can be really, it's what's needed. And all I'm saying is that every product that we run that runs through our program has that potential to really be that next thing in its industry or in its category.
And that's what I find myself reminding clients is we have these 15 posts, we're creating this, or this organic content for you, but this is 15 posts. The online cycle is constantly moving. This might last you half a week. You're going to have to,
Right.
This is kind of getting a template ready for you so that, you're ready to kind of create your own posts.
Everybody can
going
pick
forward.
up an iPhone or a
Yeah.
Samsung and create. And I'm going to tell you, if you don't
Pete,
have
nobody
the
owns
space,
a Samsung.
yeah,
You're like
the
the
smart
10 people.
the smart
10 people in New England own a Samsung. You're one of them.
It's a sore,
world
it's
that
a
calls
sore
it-
subject around here. It's a sore subject.
Oh, John, do you have a Samsung?
No. But
Do you have an Android or an iPhone?
See, I'm in between you two, so I can sense the tension.
What do you have, an iPhone?
No, I have an iPhone.
Yeah, you have an iPhone. And this guy is the most liberal guy I've met in my life, and he still has an iPhone. He bought the iPhone.
yeah.
Let it be known that I'm a staunch conservative.
There we go.
But going back to how many organic posts somebody's actually going to post in a week to actually get traction. I mean, we're talking 50, 60 posts just in a week. So giving you 15, that's great that we're providing that to you. But I find myself reminding clients, listen, this is just a springboard to get you started. You want to feed off of these. You want to get feedback from what's getting clicks, what isn't, and then using that to kind of boost your sales so that you do have that constant traffic coming in. Because we can make a great product, but you have to go out and sell it.
Yeah. Well, I might get shot for saying this, but I'm sure Meg and Nikki will kill me for saying it, but I do believe we're working on a program for 2023, which is less than a month away, where we'll do all that for you,
Sure.
but it's going to cost you money.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's something you could easily do yourself, but if you just want to not do anything, we are going to have a program that will create additional posts that will do a lot more for you. And we do have to charge you, unfortunately, because we have to pay
It's a lot
someone
of
to
work.
do that.
It's a lot of work.
But we're offering it because what are we saying from the beginning? We make money on production. So we need to get to production in multiple production orders. So we have to come up with a program that's going to help you sell your product. Otherwise, we've all done this for nothing. And that can't be an option. So we are going to develop a program that, pretty much will do all of that work for you, but it's going to be an additional fee.
Well, I'm going to give Fern from Flora on the Menorah a little plug here. So go to floramenorah.com and get yourself a really cool plush toy that lights up for Hanukkah. It's all electric, and it's LED, so no one's going to burn themselves. It's great to teach kids.
It's battery
but
operated.
It's battery operated, and but no, she sent us an email today, and she followed Sarah's TikTok schedule and has been TikToking, right? So
Good.
And we're talking someone in our age bracket, right? That can't even spell TikTok or doesn't know what TikTok is. But
I think she knows how to spell it. She just
no, I'm
doesn't know what it
well,
is. She
it's,
is.
It's
She is.
the two Ks that confuse people, right? Because they're looking for
right.
Tic Tacs, not
Yeah.
TikToks.
Is it O first, I first?
Right, but the point is that, man, that's what everybody has to do. You have to put yourself out there, and that's not comfortable for our generation, right?
Right.
We're a little bit more reserved, private,
Sure.
We've had all the spam callers. That's why I don't want to give my number out. We know what happens.
Right.
This generation, they hand out their Instagrams and their profiles like nothing, and
Right.
and that's what we have to do. You've got to get out there and you've got to get the product. And if it's not through us, you have to find somebody. The reason why it's a really hard business model is because you can never predict when you're going to go viral. Now, Dan, you and I have been involved with several products now that have gone viral.
Yes.
Our latest one is Put Me a Break.
Right.
Right? And we learned that on TikTok that we started creating videos, and we had a bunch of interns over the summer do that, and it's not every video goes viral. Which ones go viral? Right? The one that demonstrated the unique value proposition of the product. When we have that break, when you put a break in, it goes from left to right, and it's at 6 degrees, and you see that ball, and you can practice that. That video gets 150,000 views minimum. And it
Right.
gets shared, and it gets liked, and it gets
And we get orders.
and we get orders.
Obviously.
That's the key thing. What does it
Right.
cost us to do that?
Right.
Time and people and editing and some other things, right? So there's nothing for free in advertising and promotion. It's effort or dollars.
Right.
And that's it. It's effort and
we're
content.
willing to do it because we're on the same team. It goes
Right.
back to kind of the athletic, metaphor. We're on the same
Yeah.
team here. We win when you win. There's no incentive for us to
If you're going to
sell you a bag of goods.
100%.
And, cut
And if
loose.
you're going to do ad dollars, there's no team that I would hire other than ours because we're
course.
focused on the 3 major markets, and we're really good at finding people that don't want to be found to buy your product.
And nobody knows your product better than
Right, and no one knows exactly.
We made the product and helped design it.
We designed it.
The second thing I would do is I were you, I would figure out how to get your product on TikTok. Keep putting content up there. Hire a video editor. Do whatever you need to do to just keep finding that content until you realize that's what people are getting connected to. That's what's making my video go viral. And that's what TikTok has really offered everybody in the world, is that you can now figure out what makes your video actually go viral.
Yeah, we've also found out recently that TikTok is not for the younger generation, the younger people out there.
Yeah,
because
everybody's on it.
When someone's on TikTok and they're laughing in the background, I personally have seen my daughter. I'm like, "What are you laughing at?" And she shows it to me. I'm like, "You can get addicted to that thing."
Yeah,
I've been up. I go to bed and I'll be up until 2 a.m. looking at TikToks. I can't stop doing it.
It's
ridiculous.
extremely addictive.
Ridiculous.
Extremely addictive.
It's the dopamine hit that you get from seeing and having your videos posted, getting them liked. Every time you get that like from a video.
Well, we're being entertained by people that are not far away from us, right? They're not celebrities. They're not always the great, good-looking
It's
people.
just everyday you and me.
It's everyday people doing like funny things or doing kooky things or doing real things that there's a connection, right? So, I like that. All right, let's get back on
If someone
topic.
has an idea for TikTok out there, we can bring that to market to compete with TikTok.
How are we doing for time, boys and girls? We're at 50 minutes
Oh, that's
already?
good.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
It kind of flew by.
All right, so why don't we do this? Why don't we want to recap, or is there one other topic that you would say, I need to get this off my chest, this is what I really want to, because these clips are really so that we can send to our clients, or our clients can watch before they hire us, and help them get to a point where they understand us and we understand that, look at this is what's happening. So anything so far in your short tenure here?
The big thing that I would close on is it really is just about expectations. Sometimes clients come in, they got the high and mighty idea, they feel like they have it all fleshed out, and maybe that is the case, but we need to know that up front. We need to know, okay, if you have a prototype, what was your process? Did you just kind of, cut and paste, copy and paste, cut and clip a few things, and then once you got something together, that was your prototype? Did you have a streamlined process? What is kind of the process that you use to get to your prototype? And that kind of really helps our designers, and it gives them the expectations as to kind of where it can go from there. And then, once we understand.
Well, I think that's a good one. Expectations is good, and I think you and I can add a little bit to that. So if someone comes to us with when they tell us something's already flushed out and they got it all figured out, what's your number one concern on that?
No, yeah,
We're going to charge them $10,000 more.
Yeah.
Honestly, because we just know now from all of the people that have come to us with a product that they said is all figured out, literally there hasn't been an exception. Every one of them has cost us more money to get to market than would have if they
In fact, I'm going to
if
tell
they
you,
didn't have it all figured out.
We've probably dropped off more of those clients this year than ever before, because we know it happens, right? Like once they're pigeonholed into that hole, we have to be at a point where I'm telling you your baby's ugly, and I don't want to do that, and maybe that's maybe we have to find a better way to say that. But the reality is, I look at that and I'm like, the way you just the way you have it designed, that is going to be a fortune, and that's my biggest fear. And I think that's really where.
And you should just say thank you, because we're saving you a boatload of money because we just have seen it all. I mean, unfortunately we're old. We've been around a long time, and we've been experienced. I've worked for design work and packaging for Raytheon and big companies, and I let them spend the millions and millions of dollars making mistakes. I've learned from that, and that's the reason that I can bring that information to the table and share with you. I've seen it happen to big companies, and none of you out there have that type of money that a business is going to have to throw at an idea. We have to do it very cost effectively.
And that's what I'll say. So on the expectations, even though they've got it all flushed out, give us the opportunity to show you, because my biggest fear is getting to a point where I can acquiesce and give you your design, and when that design costs more than you can get at a retail margin,
right,
then we're at square one. Right? Our job is to take your idea and flush it out into a manufacturable item that looks really good, that has a cost and margin that gives you the opportunity to be profitable.
Right.
That's what no one comes into us with. When someone says they've got it all flushed out, they don't have the profitability and the DFM flushed out.
Right.
And that's really hard. And so if I'm going to say that if there's any expectation that you need to acquiesce to us, it's that expectation to help you get this flushed out from a cost margin perspective so you can be profitable as a company.
Well, and the number one thing that goes hand in hand with giving us the expectations is you have to trust us. If you give us the expectations and then the ball's in our court, and then 2 weeks later we get another email, asking about the design, or, oh, did this change? I think I want to change this. Any updates on this? It's almost as like the design process is a lot like a creative process, which is very delicate. And when you constantly are, pressing the issue, wanting changes, wanting something taken out, put in, it kind of takes away from kind of the development process that our designers use. And it is a real unique process in that they kind of, they start from just kind of a free-flowing design. And then once we actually have materials, we can kind of, get the price point, nailed down. And if
we
you
should probably find the Simpsons episode where Homer meets his rich brother-in-law, and his brother-in-law lets him build and design a car for the average man.
Oh my gosh, it's a classic.
It's a classic.
It
But
is
that's
a classic.
exactly what happens when when you let an amateur create a car, right?
Yep.
You end up with it's like someone's business card that has everything written. Like you can't even find the phone number because there's so much written
Yeah.
on that business card.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Like that's what you don't want to have happen.
Well, don't you nailed it. Trust us, and if you trust us, guess who the sword falls on? if
Right.
it's not
I'm
right?
happy to fall
Us.
on that.
And we're okay with that because we're not going to make that same mistake
We got thick
twice.
skin.
So, and we'll always do what, Pete?
Fix
We'll
it.
always make sure it gets fixed. I mean, one of our taglines is that success is never guaranteed, but failure is not an option. Especially if we're the ones that are designing it, and we are telling you what you should do. And if you listen to us and somehow it doesn't work out, we will be there to fix it. Whereas if you bring a design in that you have it 90% figured out, which means 10%'s not, and guess what that 10% is? The most expensive part. That's why you don't have it figured out. That's why you say you have 90, because no one's willing to do the other 10%, which is really hard. And that's where things get, lost in the weeds. And that's when we have to, really tell you, as Peter alluded to earlier, that, this just isn't going to work out. He used a different term about a child, infant, which I wouldn't say. But
Your baby's ugly.
so,
That's
that
what I
is
said
where,
exactly.
yeah, we just want you to trust us. We know what we're doing. And again, if we make a mistake, the onus is on us. It makes it even more important that you trust us.
Yeah. So with that, there's episode 31. I think there's a great long episode. John, welcome aboard, man. This has been a great
Pleasure to
great
be
addition
here,
to our
honestly.
team. And like Dan said, I look forward to helping you grow into our big vision for you here at 52 Launch. So.
Yep.
This has been great. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Just a
So
pleasure
anybody
as
out there
always.
that has an idea or a prototype and looking to talk to somebody, you can reach out to us,
Send it
and
in.
we'd be happy to get on a call and evaluate it. We are always free up front. We're here to help. These videos and podcasts are really here to help you get through the process. But it starts with an email or a phone call. So look forward to it.
Yep. Thank you.
Talk to you soon, guys.